Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions, your home for all things psycho. Today we're going really psycho. Today we're going to talk about Skinner, Skin Crawl Magazine, issue number 1. Skinner is, I think, a pretty well-known artist, especially in terms of the underground scene. He has got a few art books out. One, Don't Have Feelings, Don't Make a Scene. I may cover this later. He's done a lot of album artwork, posters. He does a lot of graffiti work. Incredible artist. Highly influenced by Jack Kirby. Highly influenced by that kind of Dungeons and Dragons, early Dungeons and Dragons era of work. I can't recall any of the artists that I'm thinking of right now. I know their names, just, hey, I can't recall names all the time anymore. Getting old, ladies and gentlemen, getting old. About as old as this guy. So, Skinner has never really done comics at all before. This is his first foray into the comics world. He's done a lot of painted work, a lot of comics-influenced work, paintings, etc. But this is his first fledged comic book. So he had a Kickstarter this past year. The second I saw that he had a Kickstarter for this, I immediately contributed. And I had to go fairly big. I mean, I couldn't, throw in my life savings or anything. But I did have to get two versions of this book. You could get both color and black and white. I'm a big fan of black and white, so I wanted to see that comparison. I love Skinner's line work. I also love his coloring too, so I kind of wanted to see what he did with both, study one over the other. And hey, they're signed too, so I'm going to go through the color one, and then we could do a little bit of comparison of the black and white. I'm just going to set that right there. I might set a little further away and get it out of the way. And then, I got some fun goodies in this Kickstarter as well, and this gives you a good kind of indication of Skinner's work. So got some stickers. Definitely like that kind of like horror sort of influence, like Universal Monster horror kind of thing, aliens, just incredible stuff. I haven't figured out where I'm going to put these stickers yet. I almost just want to frame them. They're so good. I really especially love this one a ton. So he uses airbrush a lot for his coloring. Now I don't think he did that for the comic itself. Oh, there was another one. It's black and white kind of felt. I haven't tried this out yet, but I think this thing glows in the dark. It's got that kind of felt feel to it. But this is an image from the comic itself, and my camera cannot take that for some reason. Weird. It is having a really rough time. But I mean, look at that line work. There's this fluid flow to his strokes. I feel like I'm always just swimming in his work. God, I love you, Skinner. So this is great. Let's take a look at Skin Crawl Magazine. Just incredible cover. This is he did fully paint the cover. I do believe the coloring inside was done with computer coloring, and he got some help and assists with the coloring as well, because man, it's hard enough just making a comic itself. Coloring the whole damn thing. And this is not just a regular size comic. This is magazine size. So let me get a comic. So here's a regular comic. And then this is old style magazine size. For sure. And of course he signed them, which, yay, I got Skinner's signature. And this is kind of like an homage to the old EC Comics stuff. So, Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, definitely, he completely admits here he's riffing on that style. That's some of his biggest inspirations. He loves that stuff. So, in that style, he needs to have a sort of like Crypt Keeper sort of Elvira type of character. He needs to have some kind of character that introduces all of the stories. That's kind of like the main thread through the magazine, the mascot of the magazine, as it were. So that's going to be our first story here, is where he's introducing that character. But take a look at this. Just incredible artwork. And then, of course, here he says, in loving memory of William M. Gaines, EC Comics publisher. And yes, thank you, Bill Gaines, for everything you gave us, and you brought light into this world, sir. Even though, really, some people would say you brought darkness, but to us nerds, this is the light. So the year is 1692. We get Pilgrim, basically in this battle with a sort of witch character or warlock, and or at least is accusing this person of such, and cuts off their hand, burns the witch or warlock, and then as he's burning, there's this demonic entity that comes out in the smoke. I'm free, haha. He takes the hand because he believes it's cursed, and he buries it in a box, or puts it in a box, puts it underwater, casts it into the water, and then, sorry, I don't want to bend the magazine completely, so I need to, and it's glossy paper, so with the lighting and everything, it's going to be kind of really hard to see. That's the only thing I wish you probably had more newsprint style paper. This glossy paper gets really weird on the camera. But in the year 2020, the lake has evidently dried up. A couple of boys find this box, and then they open it. And what's weird is these boys, they have like these oxygen things. I guess, he made this during the pandemic, so I guess maybe, he was kind of riffing on that and the fact that, hey, this is the world we live in now. But anyway, they open the box and explodes out our mascot character. Man, I can't remember his name. Oh my gosh. But it's the hand itself. I remember that he's mentioned the character's name a couple times in his videos that he's done, his Kickstarter. But I can't remember the character's name, so I feel wholly unprepared, ladies and gentlemen, but that's fine. So anyway, he's introduced. I'm just going to call him Handy for now. And he's, he makes those little kind of like one-liner quips that are like the equivalent of dad jokes, and introduces our first story called Mother Earth, which is really badass. It's not my favorite in this book, but it's close. So we get this enormous spaceship that's traveling through space, and these just horrible, grotesque aliens that are in the ship on their way to Earth. They find Earth, and they seem to feed on emotion, fear, and hatred and things like that. And so the ship is a massive device that drains all that. It helps kind of escalate, fear and hatred and stuff like that, all the things of humanity that are just awesome. And they help. It helps kind of like boost that in the populace, and then they feed off of it, and then it eventually drains the populace till they die. So they've been from planet to planet and have devoured planets completely in this way. And the way these aliens talk, they're almost hive-mindish. They're not a hive mind, but they've got that mentality where it's just all about the hunger, and the hunger is the drive for them, and they seem to operate fairly well together. like almost like an ant colony or something. So anyway, there's wars going on and stuff, and it's just they're feeding off of it, getting off of that the horrible nature of humanity, and then they notice as they're monitoring humanity this thing of motherhood, these mothers, and the way a mother will completely do anything for their child and protect their child, and it's a new kind of emotion and a new kind of drive that they apparently have not come across yet, specifically in the mammalian instincts. So maybe they haven't encountered mammals before. So the desire to exploit that in them has become even greater. They have this like mad, insane idea, and they set to work to exploit that mother energy. So they're going to make a mother for themselves, and this is a really cool, very Kirby-esque, as you can see. For those that are fans of Kirby out there, they're working on some sort of machine, and they create some sort of sarcophagus, and all of this, I don't know, it's like an incubator, but all this energy, whatever, they're creating something Frankenstein style, and it arises, and it is their mother. She grows. So this is a pretty wicked looking on that darn. I apologize for the glare on the comic. This is going to be a difficult episode, ladies and gentlemen. Difficult. I may have to take a break. So the mother comes out, and she observes humanity, and she's gonna kind of lead them in this devouring of Earth. But then, they created this. So Mother is also their creation, and Mother has become something bigger and greater and even more horrible than what they even imagined. They created something that surpassed themselves. So the Mother, the aliens had created a mother to do their bidding, but they had underestimated a mother's instinct to protect children. And so there's all these children on planet Earth. So Mother turns on them, and she feeds off of them and takes all of their energy and feeds from them. So really cool story. And then we get another little snippet of Handy introducing the next story. So it's the same kind of riff that you see in these other horror magazines, where they're commenting a little bit on the last one and introducing the next one. And usually the scene that they're in will emulate that next story in one way, shape, or form. This one's called Homecoming. We get this Transylvanian sort of like outback village where this carriage is coming into the village. They're going to set up a carnival. We get these boys that are beating up this tiny little hunchback boy who's kind of deformed, and the carriage rider casts them aside. I mean, this is everything you want in a horror magazine right here. The carnival takes place. Everybody in this carnival looks really ghoulish. So they're calling it the Strange Inferno Carnival. So everybody in the town comes because they probably don't get much entertainment at all. You have the feeling that this is like late 1800s, early 1900s. But they won't let the little kind of Quasimodo boy and the little hunchback boy, nope, you don't get to come in. And of course the boy at first is like, oh, he's brokenhearted about it. But everybody else in the town are in this tent. They're watching the carnival happen, and the ringmaster, look at this guy, that is hella awesome, is conducting this whole thing and recalls in the past being born here and being born deformed, and the villagers basically coming and coming for his mother, but his mother saved him, sent him out into the wilderness, and to act as a decoy, she stayed behind, and they ended up burning her and the house down. So the villagers killed his mom. So you can imagine what's going to happen next. The ringmaster gives a signal to his crew. They pour oil all over the audience, all over the townspeople, and the fire breathers breathe fire, burning them all alive. And of course he got his revenge, and this is his deformity. He was born with like another being on the back of his head kind of thing. Just like so badass. Some Total Recall vibes there. And as the village burns down, the caravan goes away, and they find the boy. And the boy's like, the village burned down, and I have nobody. And they're like, come be with us. We will accept you. And so the boy's happier than he's ever been. A whole band of freaks just hanging out, drinking tea in the caravan, going from town to town. Totally awesome. I love this image here. I like the way that Skinner does trees too. They even though they're supposed to be dead trees, everything feels alive. Everything in his work feels alive. And look at this. We get Handy fighting this glare, but look at those mushrooms. Look at that Amanita muscara. Love this. Love this. So this next one's called Sight Unseen. It's basically the story of a mad woman who's running around insane. Her story was her and a friend were running around in the woods, and she tripped and fell inside of a fairy circle. And the whole legend is that you're not supposed to break fairy circles, right? You know, fairy circles are the domain of the realm of fairy. And when she did that as a little girl, her eye was torn out by the fairy, and she went insane. And so this is the girl's grown up, but like this mother who was a friend of this lady when she was a kid, and is telling this story to her daughter, and they're watching the mad lady just roam the streets looking for her eye. She went insane. And it kind of ends on this incredible image of the fairy taking her eye. I mean, look at that. This has got that quality of coloring. I'm not sure. I think he did this one specifically, but it's got that quality, that airbrush quality of coloring that he normally has. Very kind of psychedelic. I'm not sure if the camera is really picking it up much. But again, he had help with some of these with the coloring of some of these other stories. We get Handy introducing another story called The Shed, and it's a little boy who's wandering the woods and comes upon this shed with these weird kind of ghoulish beings just wandering around, lingering around the shed with his dog. Something comes out of the shed and swipes his dog, and of course the boy completely flips out. That's a fun image. It almost looks distorted by the computer. But I think that's probably the way that he drew it, knowing Skinner. So he freaks out, runs back to his home in town, and it tries to tell all the townspeople, and they're just like, you're crazy, boy. There's like some weird shed with a monster in it and all these ghouls. And this old crone comes up and says, I believe you, Danny boy. And apparently this old crone's a witch who knows about the shed, encountered it in her own past, and she's been spending her whole life learning magic and concocting a spell to get rid of the presence there. So Danny goes back with a baseball bat and the spell, and he just waylays on these ghouls. He takes a bat to these suckers like, you do not, this is like John Wick style. You don't mess with this boy's dog. Bashes the head in of all the ghouls, and this beast, this incredible like Cthulhu-esque monster comes out of the shed. tries to devour the boy. He drops the spell, but the old lady followed him there. Even though she was so old and feeble, she didn't think she was going to make it, but she did. And she does the incantation, and the beast is destroyed, deflates, and there's a little bit of wiggling, and the boy's like, he just, one last final kick. I avenge you, Duke. Of course, the dog's name is Duke. I think I even had a dog named Duke. So 80s. So the boy goes back. The lady dies. That's all she could take. He goes back into town, which is weird because it looks like, this is what I really love about this. The town looks like kind of like your modern everyday town, right? But as he goes back to, I mean, this looks like some kind of like Turkish sort of, I mean, or Transylvania. I know, I mean, just so weird. So weird. I love it though. I love that it looks like it's almost medieval as he's walking to it, but then it's kind of like a modern townscape. But he goes back to town, and everybody else is turned into those ghouls. And here's an image of that beast that lives under the shed. My God, that's so good. I mean, I just stare at his stuff all day. And then, final story. This is my favorite. I'm a fan of cats. I have a cat myself. Obviously, it's going to be about cats. We get a cat rubbing on the handy there. So, love it. Love this one. So, we have a wizard who is representing another kingdom, petitioning to a evil king, saying, "Hey, can we stop war between one another? Can we have peace between the kingdoms?" And the king's like, "Screw you to think you could come here and seek peace. I'm the king of everything, and I'll dominate everything," and blah, blah, blah. And the sorcerer is like, "Okay, well, I tried." And so he was acting as an ambassador for his king. He starts leaving and starts whispering, "So, my little friend, now it's time. Godspeed." So he has a little cat in there, and the little cat jumps out real quick before he leaves. And the evil king is like, "Ring the bells and alert the Dark Council. It's time to rise again and destroy." So he's like, "Let's rise up all of our armies and destroy that kingdom once and for all." Bell's ringing, and as the bell is ringing, the cat starts wandering around the castle. And so we find the first of this Dark Council that the cat seeks, and it's a witch boiling some kind of horrific spell that will help her Dark King fight, in his battle with some sort of evil machination. And so we see her here making her spells, and the cat wanders in quietly and grabs a frog in its mouth, and then drops it into the soup, and the lady's like, "No, that's not the right spell." And some horrific demon rises out of the cauldron and smashes her head, breaks her head open. And this is the same image that was the black and white image from before that my camera doesn't really like too much. Incredible. But the cat's not done. The cat wanders further to the next member of the Dark Council, who's a sorcerer trying to call forth some sort of beast from another dimension. So the cat comes up and, of course, messes with the spell in one way, shape, or form, and the spell backfires, and this other dimensional beast grabs the sorcerer itself and pulls that sorcerer into the dimension he's trying to conjure from. And Kitty's just hanging out, watching the whole thing happen. Wanders again and goes down to the cellar where we have a guard who is watching. He's like the guard of a massive beast that they're going to unleash, some sort of monster. The cat, of course, causes some trouble, scratches the guard, knocks over a bunch of items, and all the axes come and fall on the guard and kill him. Oh no, this is the one where they're guarding the beast. This was just a guard preparing all the axes and stuff, like they're a blacksmith. And so the cat wanders down further into the cellar, and this is where there's a guard who's kind of the caretaker of this beast that they're getting ready to unleash. And of course, the cat, I guess, knocks over. I think she just like freaks out the guy, and he falls over, breaks his head open, and dies. So the beast gets really upset because his caretaker, who's the only thing that can tame him, has died. So the beast breaks through everything and ends up devouring the whole castle completely. The cat runs out as the castle's being devoured, and the sorcerer looks on with the cat, very pleased, my little friend, as the castle gets eaten up by another Cthulhian. Just, oh yes, I love it. I love the neon coloring of the eyes here, the way they glow. And Sorcerer's like, well, you're probably hungry. You'll be getting an extra dinner tonight. Let's go home, my ridiculous friend. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And of course, you can order some Skinner swag. Order some Skinner swag. So, here we go. So, really, you know, I can't tell which one I really like most. I actually like both in terms of the color and the black and white. You know, Skinner's work really pops when he does that psychedelic coloring. But he wanted to make a black and white version as an homage to some of those older kind of anthology horror magazines, which, you know, of course I appreciate. So I still love it. I like it. They still did a little bit of shading in the work to just for a little bit of highlighting, and I understand that because when you're doing pure black and white, it's really hard to have that kind of definition that you really want, that the coloring provides. So a little bit of kind of, I mean, this is obviously I think done with the computer, but some kind of duotone, ziptone type of filter on Photoshop or something. But incredible seeing the black and white inks. I reread the whole thing in the black and white, and I enjoyed it just as much. But again, the color really lends to his style too. So because he's got so much detail, so this is like one of those examples where in the black and white, it can be kind of hard to, you know, tell and distinguish if you have bad eyes or something. But you know, I read the color version first, and I really enjoyed it. I would have been fine with the black and white too. Completely happy. Look at that. Look at that. That's beautiful. This is one image that I really enjoyed in black and white. So all the handy stuff. But, you know, this is his first foray into comics, period. Well done, sir. Well done. I'm looking forward to Skin Crawl issue 2. I want more. I think next time I'll probably just get one version, not both. Not sure which one yet. So we'll just see. Maybe I'll just do a coin toss. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out Skinner. Go check out his work. I'll put a link in the description. Wonderful man too. Just he's really loving towards his fans. He's got such a great personality, and you can tell he just loves what he does. He loves his fan base and treats them like royalty. So thank you, Skinner, for being a light in the world, brother. All right, everybody, keep it psycho.